It's really nice to have you with us as we explore our community together. Today we have the most interesting guest. Her name is Robin Nichols. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
And I have to tell you that Robin makes so many beautiful things. We'll have a mass of people running through the door to grab things. Beautiful, beautiful. Robin is a metalsmith, silversmith, and she hasn't ever made anything, and I haven't seen anything today that I just wouldn't love to have. So we can all take up a collection. I'm standing here holding this, but why? Why are we looking at this picture, Robin?
Because that is the newest acquisition to the Nelson Atkins Museum, and it will be on view with two other pieces that are in the permanent collection on August 24th.
Well, this is absolutely, and this is solid silver.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a lot of work, kiddo.
Yeah, that one's a...
Oh boy, how long did it take you to do this?
This is many hours. I don't know. There's...
You just kind of go into a fog after a while. But I think that, you know, I think the point here too is that everything is not utilitarian that you do. I mean, many of the things that you do are just beautiful to look at.
Thank you.
So I read a comment about you, and it says, Robin's work is so sophisticated and elegant, so flawlessly executed and highly polished that it can only be the work of a master long apprenticed to masters, or so it would seem. But that's not the case.
Well, not apprenticed to anyone. I'm self-taught, but I've been doing it for about 40 years.
Well, you're getting it.
I'm getting it, yeah, I think.
But the truth is that you were a graduate of the Kansas City Art Institute, but they didn't have anybody to do what you wanted to do, which was be a metalsmith. And so you sort of read and did your own thing and came up with how to do it. And you started out, I think, as an illustrator.
Yeah, that was going to be my life's profession, a botanical illustrator.
Well, but that shows in your work.
Yeah.
So, but I think that life is a little more convoluted than we expect at the beginning, I think. And where it takes us, we just kind of go along. And you have done that, and you learned by doing it and by reading.
Yeah.
Now, that's all fine, but if you learned by doing it, you came up with, and I read someplace where you said you didn't even know what tools to use when you first started. So you put together some of the old methods that really nobody uses anymore because you don't use molds.
Right, this is all fabricated, which means it starts out flat.
Well, I think we're going to look at some of the flat. You'll just have to be patient because there's so much beautiful to look at that we just have to kind of, this is how it starts out. This is the pattern.
That's the silver. It is darkened because I soldered onto it. And
this is silver?
yeah, that's silver before it's cleaned up.
Okay. And this is how you buy things.
In wire, and that has been drawn down. It's heavier at one end and lighter at the other.
Oh, okay.
So
do you do
is-
this with heat, yes?
Yeah, you have to soften the metal every once in a while. It's called annealing, and it's run through a rolling mill. So I run it back and forth until it gets to the thickness.
Is this rolling mill a big thing?
Yes.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
got a lot of nice power to it. But what
Don't get your fingers
happens
caught.
when you roll it rolls in square. Rolls in and
Oh.
out square. So then you have to create the round by hammering it. You
Hammer. I was going to say,
hammer it round.
I don't know how you do that. But the point is here that this is what comes out.
Right.
Is this not beautiful? This is a what?
Those are salad servers.
There are two of them, by the way. But these are salad servers, and this is the way they started out. But I have to also tell you that if she should make another pair, they won't be exactly like this because she doesn't use a mold. She uses the same pattern, but it's hard. You can't duplicate it exactly. Now these salad servers are someplace.
They're in the Smithsonian Institute's Cooper
The Hewitt Gallery.
Yeah, the Cooper
And
Hewitt
so,
Museum.
you know, Robin, I have to say that I guess maybe in my own ignorance, but to me you're very unique in that as a metalsmith, silversmith, your pieces are in some really, you're in the Nelson, you're in the Smithsonian at the Cooper Hewitt Gallery, you're in, is it Florida or California?
Virginia.
Virginia, all up close. And you have some pieces there. So you have museum pieces that, and by all indications, you're still alive.
I know. That's the honorable part.
Well, it is.
It is.
I mean, you know,
because-
that is, that's something to be really, really proud of. Now, you do hollowware, you do shell forming, you do, what is repoussé?
Repoussé is the pushing of the metal when you bump something out. So when it's very detailed and you're pushing it out, it's a French word that just means to push.
Repoussé?
Yeah. You'll
Let's
see.
take a look at these. These are orchids. And see how it's pushed out. I love this. This is a ring, and you'll see all these feathers flapping around. I just love this. This is Robin's work too. I guess you'd wear it to a very fancy party. But anyway, these are a special contract with you too to make these.
Yeah, these are in the American Orchid Society, which is normally for a real flower, but the design.
Well, see, but you know, your talent as an illustrator must come in handy when you draw something first, don't you?
Yeah, I draw pretty much everything, and then I work from paper to make it dimensional, and then I work it into sometimes copper to get it right, because sterling silver has become so expensive that I don't really want to mess up in any of my patterns. So I might create it in copper first, crudely,
Yeah.
and then I know what it's going to look like.
Well, and you also said that, you know, metal is not very forgiving. So to make mistakes,
Yeah, you don't want to make very many.
no. But my guess is that over the years you have made some mistakes. Do you have to just throw it away and start all over again?
No, I try and work with my mistakes and have them
So do
really
we all.
be something.
Yeah.
I'm not a caster, so it doesn't behoove me to melt my metal down. I can send it to, you know, I can send my scrap back, but I try and correct those or make it into something different.
Well, it also occurs to me that the challenge is to transfer this. I mean, this metal is, there it is. It's rigid. This is what she starts with. To transform this metal into something that's flowing and something that's alive. I mean, you know, some of us don't see anything here much but a piece of metal. So the difference is that you do. And I think, as I've talked to you, it seems to me that you have almost a religious fervor about the creation of these beautiful things that that flow out of your imagination, really. And, you know, speaking of religious fervor, I need to show you this. This is, what do you call this, Robin?
That's a Sacred Heart.
Robin spent some time in Mexico. Some time in Mexico. Look at this. This is Sacred Heart.
Yeah, it's just a piece of art.
Well, and these are pearls. And this is all, I can turn this around so you can see. And this fits into this. I'm going to pull this out. And you told me to be very careful. And this is the box, or the
I call it the lace that
lace,
surrounds the
okay?
heart.
That surrounds the heart. And we can open up this heart. And here we go. And look what's inside. And
Yep.
it is a pin that, there it is. a pin that you can wear. Is that not absolutely? And if you take the pin out, look, it's still gorgeous. I have to say, I'm just kind of, I'm not usually speechless, but some of this, it makes me almost, it's so beautiful and so creative and so, I think it's in many ways it's moving, because this Sacred Heart would be a very moving and overpowering experience for, I'm sure, in Mexico, where it's mainly a Catholic country, and this is extremely important. So this is absolutely magnificent. I just, and so many of these things are, I don't know, it's just, to own something like that, I'm sure would be a privilege. I just, it's beautiful.
Thank
I don't
you,
know.
Mary.
I don't know what to say. Now, I do know that ginkgo trees are very important in your, talk about ginkgo, the ginkgo leaf.
Well, first of all, it's a magnificent tree. It's a beautiful leaf. And while I was going to the Kansas City Art Institute, there was an enormous tree on the campus that I watched, and I knew in one day after a frost, it'll lose all of its leaves in a few hours. So I would get some fellow students, and we would sit under the tree, lay under it actually, and we'd skip a class, and it would take a couple hours, but when those leaves would cover your body, you know, after they all fell, you couldn't hear horns, you couldn't hear trains, you couldn't hear the city. It was lovely. So they've become a motif that I use over and over.
Well, and they stand for?
Well, longevity and knowledge.
So there is meaning intrinsic in the piece, as well as visible.
Yeah, I love finding that, you know, finding a meaning that has been passed down, and then it goes into the piece as part of its research.
I know this isn't a ginkgo leaf, but I have to show it because I own this. And I just think this is a beautiful little bowl. This is mine. And isn't that pretty? And it sits in my living room on a shelf, so that anybody that comes into my house, and you'd be surprised at the wonderful comments that I've gotten on it. Isn't that pretty?
You should put candy in it.
Then I eat the candy and bad things happen. But I just think that is absolutely gorgeous. So I had to show this is my personal property, and I have Robin's earrings on that you might you're going to have to fight me to get those back. These are Robin's earrings. Aren't these pretty? Ooh, isn't that pretty? Now, I got to say that I read somewhere in your comments that you always, or you felt that the silver should be shiny and not a matte finish. But guess what? So why did you do that?
Well,
I mean, this is your new. These are new.
There is a reason for the high finish, and that is because sterling silver normally has a fire scale once you work it, once you put heat to it. There's a new silver out. It's still called sterling silver, but it's called argentium, and it has a little bit of germanium in it. It keeps the fire scale from coming up, and it's white, and it stays that lovely white. So sometimes, depending on if I want the white, I'll use the argentium. If I don't want that white, then I'll go back to the what I call normal sterling silver.
That's funny. Talk about your grandmother just a little bit and the influence that she had on you as an artist. I think that's interesting.
Well, my grandmother taught us a lot about the spirit of plants, and she was an herbologist or herbist?
Herbalist?
Herbalist, okay. And so we always had
We're
a remedy.
here to assist in all things.
That's true. And there was a remedy for everything. So I grew up having her teach me all kinds of really lovely things about the study of plants and what they meant.
And all this is stuck with you.
Yes, it's
So
very
wherever
important.
she is, she's smiling.
Oh yeah.
I know she is. But I do have to tell you that Robin does things, you know, on contract, special things. This is one of those special things. But again, see, Grandma's still here because the flower is a calla lily. And, but, what is this?
It's a cremation urn.
Aha, there it is. See, and you just plop your cremains right in here. The lid comes off and in they go. And these are for, you're making several of these? Or
There's 5 designs of those for another company that is in the funeral industry.
and they will buy them and sell them. Somebody will be resting here.
Right.
And I can't honestly say that I can think of a prettier place for my remains to go. I think it's you know, when you I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that Robin is not just a jewelry maker. Now, yes, those are her earrings, and yes, this is her bracelet. Again, we have to fight about, I mean, beautiful thing. These are, but she does so many other things. But this, to me, is the best of all. What, Robin, did you do here?
Well, it's a slingshot,
Yes.
but it is not a slingshot to shoot squirrels in the backyard or birds. Most of my clients come to me and ask. As a metalsmith, I get all kinds of commissions.
Oh, I'll bet.
And that is to shoot soft fruit across the room at your lover.
Was that the commission description that was asked of you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't need to know the person's name, but what kind of person is this?
Well, it is interesting because I have all kinds of clients, and I do have a lot of clients that like erotic art. So
this
I do the research and come up with some beautiful things.
So is this an original thought, or have these been done before?
It was the thought of the client.
It was the thought of the client.
And so the slingshot was probably my thought of how to
do it.
and
How to do it.
But when you work with these people, with the clients, it's so lovely that just the communication that happens.
Well, it is.
And the symbolism that starts to come forward.
Well, that's right. To me, I have to say it's a little bit off center, but it's very pretty. It really is. I mean, Robin doesn't do anything that's just not beautiful, but I do have to say. However, I think that it would be only fair to tell these people that sometimes you get a commission and you have no clue as to what that thing should look like.
Right.
So you got a commission, this is what you produced, and they say, that ain't gonna do it all. And I said, what is it? And you said?
I said, well, it should be, well, we have to find out what it is. We have to use it.
Okay, well, this
But
was the first try.
that was the first try.
And it's really pretty. So if you have any thoughts about what we could use this for, I'm sure Robin would appreciate it. Give us a little shout out and send me an email, and I'll pass it on to Robin because it's certainly pretty. So this was the first try. Okay. Here, folks, here is the second try. And the comment was?
Well, that one didn't work either.
This one didn't work either.
In what I was trying to create for the client. But that can be used for all kinds of different things.
Oh, yes. This is more utilitarian. But the other, maybe we'll get some good ideas.
Yeah.
Robin. So, okay, this is number 2 rejection. Okay. Now we're going to move to number 3. That is right here. And number 3 was bingo.
That's it.
That was it. So there it is. Now you can see the difference in the shape of the bowl here. So shall we give them another clue? Okay. I'm going to put a sugar cube on here and put it on top of a glass. And then I still said to her, what is it? I still didn't know. Dense as I may be, I did not know. So what is this thing?
It's an absinthe spoon, and absinthe is now back.
Yeah, so I said, well, that's great. You can go blind. And Robin said, no, people are drinking absinthe again. And so the absinthe is in here.
The absinthe is poured in the glass.
Okay.
And then the spoon is
It's laid
placed
on
over
top.
with the sugar cube.